Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Live Healthy Now. I have a guest joining today to talk about a really interesting topic and something that I know affects a lot of people, women especially. So, we're going to be diving into self-love and the importance of self-love in your overall health, well-being and happiness. So I'm joined by Melisa Dervisevic, who is a health and wellness coach, and she's on a mission to help women build their confidence and reach their full potential, because she knows through her own journey how important it is to have that self-worth, self-belief and self-love so that you can create that dream life you really want for yourself. So welcome to the podcast, Melisa.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having
Yeah,
a
it's
great day
great
so
to have you
far.
here. Yeah, and thanks so much for giving us some time to chat with us. So, I'd love to kick off the episode by finding out a bit about your healthy lifestyle. So, what would you say your most impactful healthy habit is?
I probably would say something like getting up in the morning and meditating is the most important thing to me at this point. It just allows me to clear my mind and start off the day just right.
Yeah, and what kind of meditation do you like to do?
I just do a basic like sit in silence. Sometimes I do a guided one, but this one I just every morning I try to get up and do at least 10 to 15 minutes of just sitting in silence and just letting my mind clear and start off the day. And I notice that that makes a huge difference for me. That affects my physical health and my mental health.
Yeah, meditation's so powerful, and obviously there's so many different types, which is why I asked if there's one that you prefer to do. It's something for me has been a challenge building a habit for. I've really struggled with it, like a lot of people do, with slowing down the mind and being really present, which is what meditation's all about. But it does have so many benefits, as you say, for both physical and mental health. And definitely doing it at the start of the day can be a fantastic way to set you up for the day ahead and get intentional about how you want your day to play out. So that's great to hear. Thanks for sharing that.
You're
So,
welcome.
the topic of self love, I think, when I was growing up, I was in the era of Whitney Houston when she had a, number one best selling song, The Greatest Love of All, and obviously the very famous line in there is, that you need to love yourself. And I used to think it sounded quite cheesy, in all honesty. And it was something that as I, grew up and became an adult and heard people talking about that need to love yourself, I just couldn't associate with it. I didn't have self-love, and I have gone on that journey of learning to love myself, and I would probably say where I am now, for the first time as an adult, I do have love for myself, which was something I was so far away from in the past and also didn't understand the value and need for. So, what do you think is so important about self-love?
Definitely could relate. You brought up some good points. As you're talking, I'm thinking about, wow, I grew up like that too, where, my mom was a very old-fashioned mom, and she was all about, giving and serving others before yourself. So I never was taught self-love. It just wasn't one of those things. And through the journey that I went through and through life experiences, that's when I learned that everything else, yes, it is important, but if you don't love yourself and you don't put yourself first and value yourself, then it's just you're never going to find the true happiness that we all deserve and we all should want in life.
Yeah, and so self love links into what you focus on in your coaching practice with self worth and self belief, which are a big part of what I do and focus on as well in my programs. So, yeah, just talk to us a little bit about what they are and how they're linked, and why having those things is the foundation to then creating that happy life we're all striving for.
Yeah. So I'll just go back a little bit. Growing up, I was always, once again, like I was very hard on myself and I was a perfectionist. I wanted everything perfect. And I always thought it was just who I was. It wasn't until later that I learned it was because I was searching for something that I didn't even know what I was searching for. I finished for a master's degree. I had a great job. I was making good money. I was in my early 20s, and like on the outside, everybody would say, oh my God, she has it all. Like I had a boyfriend, I was in a loving relationship, but something always felt missing. And I switched jobs every 2 years. It's like I get bored of working in the same position and I want something else. I'm looking for something else. My relationship struggled. It's like something was always missing. And not until recently, I would say in the last like 3 years, where my last relationship really didn't work out. And I found myself to be a single mom. I had a little girl, and I was just like, I didn't hit rock bottom, but I definitely was at a point where I'm like, what is going on? Like, why can't I figure this out? And then my job again, I was like, oh, I feel like I need to find a new job. I'm just not happy. And that's when I decided to kind of, you know what, let me try to figure out what's going on. And I did some therapy, and then I was like, let me find my higher purpose in life. That's the reason I went and found a life coach. Well, coming to work with her, I realized that there was so much more. It was like, yes, I needed to find my higher purpose, but what I really needed to find was my self worth. Once I found that and figured out that I really never found, not considered myself worthy, I just didn't love myself in the way that I should. Once I realized that, everything in my life kind of made sense, and all the positions and all the different directions I took in my life made more sense to me. And I realized why I was the way I was and what I wanted in my life from this point on.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about there, it will be so familiar to anyone listening. I'm sure probably, at some point, if not right now in their life, it's something that they've struggled with. And it links to that need we have for happiness and seeking happiness external, isn't it? In that we think we'll be happy when we get the job or the relationship, the house, the money, the weight loss, whatever it might be. And then we get those things, and yes, it feels good when we've accomplished it, but for a very short amount of time, it doesn't create the happiness that we think we'll then have as part of our life going forward. It's a momentary thing, it's kind of like joy rather than happiness. And what you're sharing there is what I went through myself as well, in that to really feel as though you are living a life that is of value and where you do feel happy, you really do need to have that inner self-worth. And it's so powerful when you do find that and realize that, isn't it? Because then you stop looking at all of the other things and you actually find like more happiness in more things much easier. Is that how it started to become for you once you'd done that work?
Yeah, definitely. I remember I've always been into fitness and like working out, but that was another thing where, you know, I always felt like I had to be a certain weight for me to be happy. And when I came to a point where I'm like, I do love myself just the way I am, I didn't obsess over it. I still enjoy working out and doing different things, but I go to the gym now because I truly enjoy working out and I like all the other benefits. It's not the weight. It's not like I'm obsessing over the way I look and I need to be, whatever amount of pounds just to be happy. And yes, absolutely. Everything else, the money that you have, the house that you have, the relationship that you're in, everything now is more like, it just seems like it's easier because I am in a better place. So all of that
Mm.
stuff is just, I feel like it's bonus, where the true worth is just me. Like I on my own am enough. That's pretty much the message, is I am my own. And then
Mm.
everything else I have in my life to me is a bonus, and I'm extremely grateful for everything else that I have.
Mm. And something that I think would be worth touching on here, if you're comfortable with this, is that, your life, you probably wouldn't say is perfect as such. Someone could be listening thinking, well, it's all right for them. They've got their own business and they've had a coach and now they're a coach. But your life, as you've said, has been difficult. You've got a young daughter, you're on your own, your relationship didn't work out, you've had some challenges working out career and earning an income. Likewise, my life isn't perfect. I lost my job. I'd recently lost my mum in the run up to COVID and then being made redundant. And then I had a really bad accident and then I got divorced and then I met someone new. And, I've had a lot of challenges and I'm building a business from the ground up. So this isn't about saying that, oh, you when you love yourself because your life's in a good place, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's actually like almost like the opposite of it. It's, I was a nurse practitioner and I walked away from that job and from that salary because I loved myself. It's like I left and everybody was like, "You're crazy, what are you gonna do?" My mom was like so worried about it. And I just said to her, I'm like, I'm just happy. Like, I'm just happy and I'm going to now, find a higher purpose for myself and do something else. But it doesn't mean, like you said, I am a single mom and I have challenges in my life and it's hard. Life is hard, but it's just knowing what you will and will not tolerate in your life. Learning to respect yourself, say no to certain things in your life, learning to put yourself first. As parents, it's okay for you to still have a life of your own. And a lot of people don't understand this. They think, you have a child and they're like, immediately your life is over. No, just because I have a daughter doesn't mean that I don't want to be happy. I still like to balance and I still like to, do things and go to the gym and hang out with my friends and go to dinner dates with my girlfriends. Like all of that is okay. And I don't feel guilty about it. I feel proud and happy. And I want to show my daughter that that is okay. And that's how I want her to live her life. So everything else, yeah, like
Yeah,
you said,
yeah.
it's
It's
not that
so
it's perfect.
But it's so powerful the way you explained that there, in that, you know what you want to feel like in your life. And a big part of that is feeling that you're helping your daughter to see the world for all of the opportunity it beholds her, and how, she can build a great life for herself. And so then you're designing your life to make sure that you are showing your daughter that as she grows up. And I've got a very similar approach to it with my daughter. She's 15, and when I was made redundant, I was the main earner at the time in my family, and so losing that salary was a massive risk for us to be able to say, well, actually, let's do something different, and I'm going to set up this business, and I probably won't earn for quite some time, and I'm still way off being able to bring in the salary that I was as an employee. But because of that journey I've also been on, developing my self-worth and the belief that I have in myself, because of which you touched on, the purpose that I know I have and what I'm about as an individual, I just feel so aligned to it, and that it's making me much happier than I've ever been. And that's the key, isn't it? Is that, when you know that purpose, and maybe we can come on to that, and you feel like you're in control, living in a way that's in alignment with that purpose, helping you to achieve the goals that you have and feel the way you want to feel, then it just ripples out, doesn't it, in so many different ways. And, we're health and wellness coaches. And so what we're talking about here is something that has a massive part to play in how well and healthy you are.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to touch base on, the purpose, yes, absolutely, finding your purpose and doing all that. But none of that is possible for people that don't believe that they're even worthy of that. And I
Mm.
always go back to that because that's kind of where I was. It's like I wanted one thing, but I was standing in my way of all these things. And it's just, you have to believe it. You have to believe that you are worthy of so much more. And then when you are worthy of that, then you're able to take a chance like you just explained and like I did. You took a chance at yourself. And I took a chance and I took a risk by saying, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to follow a different path. And I just feel it in my bones that it is the right thing to do. And it's going to
Mm,
make me happy. And it is making me happy with
mm.
way less money right now. And
Yeah, we all need money to survive, don't we? But as you say,
right.
it's about that bigger picture and the way that you feel about yourself. And, ultimately it is about that one life we all have, whichever, belief system you have and religion you may or may not follow. We are in this form anyway here at this one time. And sometimes when I talk about it, I'll say, I know some people might think, oh, this is a bit morbid or it's deep, but it's not. It's reality. It's the certainty we have in our life. And unfortunately, many, many, many people live a life that is then full of regrets as they get older because they realise they weren't living in a way that was giving them what they wanted. And certainly for me, I had that awareness. I wasn't just existing and not aware that I was caught in this spin cycle of life. I knew that it didn't feel right and I didn't feel good and happy and healthy. And so I was always aware of that, but just didn't know the answers. And, maybe that's where we could go next with this is, you took steps feeling that something wasn't right and spoke to somebody else to help you get clear about what it was you were feeling and how you could change that. So, what would be maybe a first step that you could say to someone to take if they do listen today and think, oh, yeah, I know that I'm just getting by, I'm just stuck in this, spin cycle of life?
I would definitely like really, really think about your life and think about what makes you truly happy. And if that is on the outside, so if it's like, my job or the relationship or whatever it is, that's great, that you're happy, but you could lose your job, the relationship could fail, all of that stuff. So what happens then? So are you now unhappy because you are no longer in that relationship or whatever? But I would highly, highly recommend to anybody is to seek out either, a health and wellness coach or a life coach. It's so worth the money. Like initially when I like looked into it, I was like, oh my God, I don't know about this, but it's the greatest gift I gave to myself. And it's the best thing I did for myself. And that's why
Mm.
now I'm so passionate about it, is because it truly changed my life. And it was only a year that this, even less, it was 6 months that I did it, and it changed everything for me. And I'm not perfect by any means. I still fall back. I have days that I, go back into old patterns and do things. But now I'm more aware of it and I know what I do to get myself out of these patterns, and I change things. Or before I wasn't aware. So you're living this life and you're just going, 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 and you don't even know what's going on. You're not even aware of what's going on in your life or why you are the way you are, why you react the way you react.
So, with the changes that you've made, what would you say has been some of the most impactful and noticeable benefits to your overall health and well-being since you have built that self-worth and inner belief?
So the main thing, and I know I've touched about this, but it's just the main thing is I don't look for happiness outside of myself anymore. So like I'm trying to think of examples, but like when I wake up in the morning, I do things that I want to do. It's not like, hey, I need to go do this so I could be happy. It's just my days are just it's so hard to explain because it's like a feeling and I'm trying to put it into words, but it's like waking up in the morning and feeling like I am confident. I am worthy. I am enough. And I did, positive affirmations over and over and over again to get this in my head. And when you walk around like that, it's just, and things don't bother you as much and you don't take things personally. If my friend, let's say, says something to me that I normally would get upset about, it doesn't affect me anymore because I look at it and I'm like, well, That's that has nothing to do with me. It's more her. That's something that she's struggling with. So, she would say that. Or the relationship with my mom, or the relationship with my significant other, or whoever it is. When things happen, it just doesn't affect me anymore the way it did before.
And something I know you talk about, Melissa, is the comparison that many women make to other people and the insecurities that leads to. And as you've said there, that's something which you've felt a real shift in since doing this work on yourself. We're in a world obviously where social media is a huge part of most people's lives, and you are looking at what is basically the best showcase of a person's life when you're on social media, and it's hard, when you're seeing what might to you look like perfection. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen with people, who are looking at others and doing that comparison and being affected by it?
Yeah. So social media to me is just the biggest problem, I think, in today's society. And with like the younger generation, I have a lot of cousins that are so attached to it. And that's one of the main things, like in my coaching program, I actually go through this like detox from social media, is because we are constantly on that. And I even catch myself sometimes go on there, and then you look at other people's lives and you're like, oh my God, like they're so much happier. They're traveling all the time and they look so fit. But then you see this person in real life, like, if you live in the same town or whatever, and you're just like, oh my God, like you don't even look the same. And that's a reminder that it's not reality. And these people are posting, if they go on vacation once a year, these pictures are just there. And I think it's just like when you look at it, you have to remind yourself that I tell myself, like, this is not real. Like, to me, Instagram is not real. Facebook, the edits, the filters, all this stuff, that's not real. What's real is the kind of person you are on the inside. What's real is being able to walk outside with no makeup on and feel comfortable in your own skin, regardless if you have zits. Like, all of that stuff is still okay. It's like you have to have this perfect face and in pictures, and constantly when you take a picture, people are constantly asking for like filters, and it's awful. It's awful how we like view ourselves and how we think we have to look like, when in reality we really don't. We don't have to look like that.
Yeah, you make some good points there. And it's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? But as you say, when you have that strong self-worth, then you can detach yourself from the emotion of comparison, which for many of us, because of how we've been brought up and just conditioned by culture and society, that's our go-to, that's our default program, isn't it? To look at other people and think, oh, look at that dress, or oh, look where they are on holiday, and feel that pang of jealousy, and then maybe shift into resentment because of the way your life is versus their life, and all of this kind of um, you know thought pattern that you go through has a real impact on how well and healthy you are, doesn't it? What is running in our mind is the most powerful voice that we hear, which a lot of people don't ever give a second thought to, but that's running 24/7. And when that's then telling you, oh, you aren't good enough, look what they've got, why are you not earning that much money, why do you not look that way, that's really damaging to your inner belief, isn't it? And so, as you say, it's about, doing that work to build your confidence about who you are and how you show up and what your life is, and having strong self-belief and self-worth, so that when you say things like that, you've reprogrammed yourself to not go into that negative downward spiral, and instead you can just appreciate it for what it is, the picture, the video, and that you are fulfilled in the life that you're living.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the best way I would say this is like a healthy mind would look at stuff online and say, like, be inspired, right? So when I go
Mhm.
online and I look at other women, I more look at it and say, oh my God, like, look at how well she's doing. I wonder what steps I have to take to get to that point. So it's almost like an inspiration for me versus comparing myself to her, because you have no idea what that woman had to go through to get to where she is, and the challenges she had to face, and the obstacles that she overcame. So I think we forget as women that we all go through something. We truly do. And it's not just because I take a nice picture doesn't mean that my life is perfect. Versus an unhealthy mind will look at a picture and do all of that. Like, I don't like her, I'm jealous, she's prettier than me. Well, she may not be, just because you don't feel that way about yourself. That's something that it's the work you have to do on yourself to get to that point.
Yeah, that's great how you've positioned that, and getting to that place of being able to think that way, that positive way you've just described, is the work that you need to do on yourself and do consistently and repeatedly, so that that becomes your way of responding from the off, so that it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think when we talk about self-love and the importance of it, this is a great example of where our self-love falls down because of what we are naturally doing day to day and comparing ourselves to others through that lens we have on social media. And so, finding a way, as you say, to look at it with that positive outlook is a great step to start to take, because at the more, like any habit, doesn't matter what that habit is, as you begin to do that, you'll get familiar with it, you'll start to build it into your day and your routine, and then it will become a very natural habit. And that is how your mind will think when you start to see things like that or talk to people in those conversations, maybe.
Yeah,
And I think,
definitely.
yeah, go.
I was just going to say,
So, go on.
another thing I always tell myself is like, in this world, there's going to be millions of girls that are prettier than me. There's going to be millions of them that are smarter than me. There's going to be so many that are, skinnier and more toned than me. But that's somebody else. That's not my journey. So I just always try to focus on where I am, and I try to be better than I was yesterday and improve the things that I could improve in my life, physically, mentally, whatever it is, emotionally, not once again try to compare or compete with anybody else outside.
It's about self-acceptance and self-compassion. And I've written a blog on self-compassion being that missing piece of the well-being puzzle, because you can do all of the things, you can work out, you can eat healthy, get some sleep, and reduce stress and feel pretty good. But if you are not taking care of yourself mentally, about who you are as a person, to have that value of yourself, and having that compassion and support for yourself, then no matter what you do from a practical point of view, you're never going to feel truly happy and satisfied and fulfilled, and be able to really be at ease with your life and how it is. And so, if you are listening to this and thinking, God, yeah, I'm always saying things like that to myself, and I really do struggle, I could never say that I love myself, just know that it is possible to change. It's took me probably or more than what's half of my life, to get to that point. And it's not a job done, it's a work in progress. We're all work in progress, aren't we? It's like health has no finish line. So it's a continuous way of living and being. It doesn't mean it's really hard work. It is difficult when you begin to change anything, but it does get easier because it just becomes a part of who you are. But it's about keeping that growth and that development going, isn't it? To continue feeling that way for as long as you live.
Yeah, definitely. I like the point that you said about the acceptance and compassion, because self-acceptance is one of them. You have to accept yourself for the way you are, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. I have flaws, but I have accepted those flaws too. And now I openly talk about those flaws, so nobody else can really affect me in that way, because I will say my flaws before they would. And I'm proud of my flaws. Like, there's nothing I could do. It's just who I am. And I'll just, yes, that's how I am. And I don't let it bring me down. I know I have a lot of positive
Mm.
qualities, but I do have some flaws.
we're all human. We all have flaws, definitely. And I think just as you were talking, what was going through my mind was, you know, known from my experience and friends and then clients, is when you have that low self-worth and you're lacking that self-love, that plays out in you not taking steps to take care of yourself. So if we took someone, for example, who is struggling with their weight and they're overweight and they have a very poor quality diet, they're not eating very much nutritious food, and they have very low self-worth, lacking self-love for themselves, because of how they speak internally to themselves and treat themselves, they believe that they can't change, that this is who they are, that they won't be ever like that person they see on Instagram or Facebook who they look at, and as you say, they think that's perfect and that they're not like that. And so people like self-sabotage themselves, don't they? They pull themselves even further away from where they want to be because they feel like they're a lost cause almost. And that's what's very sad for me, because I definitely felt that way, and I've seen this with other women, and it's so sad because they just think, this is who I am, I'm not good enough, what's the point? That's what perfection looks like out there on a screen. And so keep eating, keep being unhappy, keep beating myself up, basically self-abusing, isn't it? Because they just feel so unhappy. And so, it's how to get out of that trap. Is there anything that you've discovered as you've begun working with clients and built your program that can help people when they are really, stuck in that pit of despair?
I love that you brought that up because I've actually worked with several clients that are like that. And when people come to you, they come to you just like that. Like, I want to lose, let's say, 10 pounds and I want to go to the gym. And so, working with clients, it's like I could give you all the tools, to get better recipes, eat healthier, go to the gym how many times, work on this body part, work on that body part. None of that is going to change unless deep down you truly believe that you are worthy of losing that weight. And so I just think that it's doing the work, doing that deep work. And the sad part is that people are not aware of that. They do the superficial work and they think, if I eat, and this is just a, example, if I replace my breakfast with, I'll do oatmeal instead of a bagel, that I should lose weight. And then they don't understand why they're not losing weight. But then they spend the rest of the day exactly like you just explained, I'm never going to lose weight. I don't even know what I'm doing when I go to the gym. I'm not athletic. I've never been athletic, things like that. And it's like, when you start working with clients and you start asking these powerful questions, it's almost like they stop and they're just like, wait, like it's almost, it like changes everything for them. And there's nothing more fulfilling to me than like having them see that. It's almost like you shine a light on them and you're like, yes, you want to lose weight. That's great. That's great. But that's not the problem. The problem is so deep inside you that that's what needs to change. And I, once again, would recommend, the only way to do this is like to figure this out is really, really dig deep and get to know yourself. Try to figure out why you can't make it to the gym. We all are busy. And that excuse, I don't have time. My sister has 4 kids. She makes time. If it's important to you, you'll make the time for it. So it's getting to
Absolutely.
know why.
Yeah, and the time thing is the biggest barrier that I hear from everyone, men and women. It's, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. That's a whole other conversation. But you've explained that so well about the deep work that is required. And at the end of the day, you owe that to yourself because you do have that one life and you are that life. Everything you wish to feel can only happen when you make that possible and you allow yourself to do what it needs or what you need to feel that way. So yeah, it's something that I think, well, I know when people think about health, they think of the obvious, the food, the diet, the exercise. And that's why we do what we do. We're health and wellness coaches who focus on helping you to be healthy, well, happy, strong. But that comes from so much more than the food you put on your plate and how much you move your body. Yes, those things do fit into the foundations you need for good health and well-being, but the mindset piece is just so powerful, isn't it? Because that, as we say, that is, it's either very, very damaging or very, very supportive and encouraging. And that's what we want, is we want to tip those scales. There's no balance to be had here. It's tip the scales right up and power through with that self-belief and self-worth.
Exactly. If you, in your mindset, if you believe that you are worthy of, losing weight and eating healthy, that part is going to come naturally. Like if you are like, I want to, look good in this dress, and you feel good about it and you just want to improve for that aspect, you're going to naturally want to go to the gym, and you'll make time for it because you know that exercise is important. You know that getting, 8 hours or however many hours of sleep a night is good. You know it's not good to have all this. So we know all this stuff. It's just a matter of feeling like you are worthy of that life. You on your own are worthy of this great life that you could have and be like less stressed and go to sleep on time and wake up on time and take care of yourself first. Take care of yourself mentally, take care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So all of it has to come to play together. And that all happens when you believe that you deserve it.
That's a great way to wrap up. I've loved chatting about this. It's a topic that is very, very important to me. As I said, it's also a big part of the work that I do and focus on. And I know how powerful it's been for me and the other people that I've worked with and supported. So if you are listening today and you want to find out more about the work that Melisa does and how she supports women to create that dream life, where can people find you, Melisa?
So I do have a website. It's radiantlifebymelisa.com, and you could book a free discovery call with me. I do have a free quiz on there, a self-esteem quiz that you could take. And that is a great way to kind of see where you stand. And it's like mild, moderate, and high self-esteem. And if you're obviously low self-esteem or moderate, definitely encourage you to book a call with me, and we could discuss, on ways that I could help you and kind of guide you and hopefully change your life.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And everyone loves a quiz. So check that out and see where you score. And if you are struggling, then reach out, as Melisa said, book that call. And I love the Radiant Life name as well, because, that's what most women are striving for. They want to feel that they're radiating and, in every way, not just on the outside, but inside. And we know we're all connected, the inner, outer, mind, body, and being healthy and well is what leads to that radiant life. So thank you so much for joining us, Melisa. It's been lovely to chat and find out more and be able to talk about this topic, and I'm sure we're going to have triggered some thoughts in lots of people's minds through our conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me too.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.